Hello everyone, welcome to my exhaust swap. So what I'm doing is I've taken off my stock S1000R headers, and I got these headers from a 2015 R. Now the reason I want to do this is basically I hate the look of this huge ugly catalytic converter, and the 15 and 16 model RRs have these smaller catalytic converters, and it does have a lot of extra muffling in the actual slip-on. So what I'm hoping for is to get a slightly louder bike and a better looking bike, basically. So I've been reading some forum threads, and there's a lot of information out there, and but there's no one who actually made any good videos on either install or the differences between the systems or the sound of them. So let's just start here at the front. So first of all, everything bolts up completely. They're identical. The frame is slightly different on the 15 and 16 RR compared to the 14 to 16 single R. But basically the exhaust holes, the pipe, everything same dimension. I just measured it. The single R has an H pipe system, and the double R has the same, but it also has this flapper valve. So this valve is spring-loaded open, so I'm just going to leave it because that will basically give me the exact same geometry at the front as the single R. So if I close this, it would be similar to 4 single straight pipes like you would get on like an aftermarket titanium exhaust. So what I think is that this thing stays open, and once the double R hits a certain RPM, this thing closes and gives you more high-end power. But this is staying open, this gives you more low-end power. So moving down in the O2 sensors, same location. And then just move back, and you can see the brackets here is a little different. So if you buy one of these systems, make sure you get this bracket, because you're going to need it. Now when we get to the back, there's a few more obvious differences. The valve for the acoustic valve, so this one is basically closed or slightly closed when you idle, and it opens up at 4,000 or 5,000 RPM. So as you can see, it's moved. It's roughly 180 degrees out, almost. And you can also see that the end tubes or the end pipes here has a completely different bend. So this basically means if you go for a single R system, a double R system on your single R, your original muffler, your original slip-on won't fit. And if you have an aftermarket slip-on that you bought for this exhaust and you were hugely disappointed with it having virtually no effect, then you're gonna have to buy a slip-on for a double R, which I have done. And quickly, the reasoning why I did this, well, yes, it's the looks is one thing, and I have a friend who's got a similar bike, and he put a Scorpion slip-on on his, and it's virtually no difference. So that was a lot of money basically down the drain. So instead of buying a very expensive aftermarket system, I bought this, and it's a BMW system. So hopefully if I get pulled over at some point, I have what appears to be a factory system on the bike. And I got a certified or E-marked, as I'm in Europe, so I have an E-marked slip-on. So I shouldn't have any problem with the authorities. So I I stripped down the bike. It's a little fiddly, but it took me about an hour and a half to get to this stage where I dropped everything off. So I had to loosen the oil cooler, and I've loosened up the radiator just to move it a little bit so that it would be easier for me to get to the headers. This has to obviously just be stowed away. So, and the rest is, well, pretty simple wrenching. Now, from reading on the forums, these might cause me some problems. These are the cables that control the acoustic valve at the back. And someone also said that maybe the slip-on doesn't quite line up with the rear set, because the rear set on the R is slightly different. So I've seen some people had to manufacture a small adapter plate to make it fit. So I'll just have to see when I get to that stage. So the first thing is, or the next thing is to basically bolt it back up. And so it took me an hour and a half to get it off. And I've never done this before, so basically it was a little bit of trial and error. So if I were to do it again, I'd probably do it in an hour or so. Helps with the stand though. It's a con stands for those who are interested in that. Alright, so the header pipe is on. So to me this looks a lot better than the big lump that was there before. It was pretty straightforward to put this on. I mean, everything lined up perfectly. There was no issue attaching the header to the engine. This little bracket that holds the radiator and the oil cooler was a little fiddly, but made that work. I do suggest being two people, because I had to stack up a lot of stuff here to hold it in place. So an extra pair of hands would definitely be beneficial. So just a thought. One thing I forgot to mention earlier was for those who are interested in weight saving, this thing is 3 kilograms lighter than the original one for the S1000R. So yeah, there's a 3 kilogram weight save to do this. Not exactly why I did it. So, but the worst part is actually this. I managed to kind of make it work by rerouting these, but you can see that it's now sitting out here. It's got a nasty bend on it, but it's on. The valve's connected, and I mean, yeah, it's possible. I would probably recommend getting the cables from an S1000RR as well. So, or just skip the valve completely, because yeah, it's spring loaded as well to open position. So if you want that valve constantly open, just disconnect the cables. Just leave it there, I guess. So now I'm gonna see if I can fit the slip-on. Oh yeah, it was one other thing. The bolts to tighten up the clamp here, they're really the S1000 single R one. They're a lot longer, and so I actually went down to the hardware store and bought a set of shorter ones. I bought a set of 20mm long M8 bolts. So it's got a regular hex head on them, but that worked out pretty well. Now, if not, you would have to use a spacer that's inside the rubber mount on the S1000 single R, and then the bolt would come all the way back here, and you can't get the cover on. So I just went down and bought these bolts. I mean, bolts are cheap. Yeah, so slip-on's on, and just as I expected. Yeah, you can see the bracket really doesn't line up here. So I'm probably going to have to make a small piece of sheet metal with a nut on the back here and another extra bolt somewhere around here, and just to get this thing to fit. So a little fiddly, but yeah, we'll see how this Cobra exhaust is. I mean, it's pretty well on there. It's not going to fall off, so there's no problem starting the bike or doing a test ride or something. But I'll see if I got something lying around, and maybe I can do a quick fix. We'll see. Alright, so I've had a bike out for a test run, and it was crazy loud, and I found out that this valve wasn't operating. So I've changed around this rigging here. So this one that was originally pointing forward, I had to turn it about 90 degrees, so now it's facing sort of inwards towards the back of the motor. And what actually happened was that this wasn't moving at all, so the valve was constantly open. So the problem with this valve staying open is that the bike is really loud on idle, and it's really loud when you're riding in the inner city, like basically below 4,000 RPM. It's just crazy loud. And the way you can check that is that the bike will do the self-test when you turn the key. So when you turn on the ignition, you'll see the valve close and then open. So I'll see if I can demonstrate that now. So then what happens is that the first second when the bike starts, the valve will go closed. So it's quite loud for that first second, and then it kind of quiets down, and it becomes pretty okay. So I'm gonna roll the bike out, and I can start it up and let you guys hear the initial sound. So I got the bike outside, and as you can see, I got both the DP killers, both the baffles are in, and perfectly honest, I don't want to take them out because the bike is now pretty loud. It's not obnoxiously loud, but it's loud. So let's see if we can start her up. Okay, so this is just a taste. I'm gonna make some more videos, but I don't think I'm gonna include more audio in this particular clip, so it's just gonna turn out too long a clip.